How did a foreign pathogen launch a preemptive strike and breach the most sophisticated border defense system on the planet in under 60 seconds? To pull this off, it didn't just rely on luck. It used a devastating tactical maneuver called biological time on target. We are talking about millions of viral particles, a massive, microscopic fleet, calculating the exact biological math to ensure every single neural receptor was hit at the exact same millisecond. Think about the complexity here. The human body is a fortress, protected by the multi-layered armor of the skin and the near-impenetrable gates of the blood-brain barrier. Usually, these biological defenses are an absolute nightmare for any invader to navigate. But this wasn't a standard infection. This was a mathematically choreographed assault designed for total systemic shock. By synchronizing their impact, the viral swarm didn't just overwhelm the sensors. They completely blinded the local chemical radars and bypassed the entire perimeter before the first alarm could even sound. The strategy behind this strike was terrifyingly clear. This wasn't just a show of force or a random spread of disease. This was a targeted move to assassinate the supreme leadership of the body, the master stem cells residing deep within the bone marrow, and the absolute nerve center of the central nervous system. We are talking about munitions dialed in on the most sensitive, high-value zones, the primary offices where your body's day-to-day survival and regeneration are managed. But here's the catch. While the first wave leveled the compound and paralyzed the local nodes, the ultimate target, the core of the immune command, might have just slipped away. And right now, your entire biological system is holding its breath, waiting to see what happens next. Because on March 21st, 2026, the quiet war inside your veins just turned into a full-scale coordinated offensive. And the first reports coming in from the front lines are absolutely chilling. On March 21, 2026, the internal peace of the human body didn't just fade, it was obliterated. At precisely 0800 hours, a coordinated biological strike, now referred to as Operation Red Infiltration, breached the outer perimeter. If you think this was just a standard viral infection, you aren't looking at the data. This was a high-stakes, multi-front offensive designed to collapse the system from the inside out. Look at this biological map. To understand the gravity of this situation, you have to look at the specific strategic zones targeted in the first hour. The viral swarm didn't just spread randomly, it moved with cold, predatory precision toward the left lung district. This zone isn't just a place for air exchange, it is the primary aerospace hub of your entire respiratory system. We are talking about critical oxygen fuel lines that power every single organ in the body. When the first wave of viral munitions hit the alveoli bunkers, the illusions of safety were instantly shattered. The air exchange wasn't just suppressed, it was hijacked. The oxygen saturation levels didn't just dip, they plummeted as the virus began ripping through the delicate cellular membranes, turning the very air you breathe into a delivery mechanism for the enemy. But wait, the escalation was only beginning. While the lungs were fighting for air, a massive shockwave rocked the Jamuri district of the gastrointestinal system. If you follow biological warfare, you know exactly how vital this area is. This isn't just about digestion, this is the ideological heart of your internal defense, housing trillions of beneficial microbes that act as the frontline civilian defense. The virus didn't just enter the gut, it deployed a systemic chemical assault that sent shockwaves through the entire ideological core of the microbiome. The fortification of the intestinal lining, usually a near-impenetrable wall, was rocked by a series of molecular explosions. The panic began to spread. Any illusion of a localized infection was gone. This was a total systemic war. Now, look at the monitoring stations. Your lymph nodes are essentially the military radar stations and command bunkers scattered throughout the theater of war. And this is where things get truly terrifying right now. The intel coming from these stations is a complete mess of contradictions. We are getting conflicting reports from the regional command nodes in the neck and the groin. Station 402 in the cervical node is reporting a successful interception, claiming the viral load has been neutralized. But the high-altitude sensors near the collarbone are screaming a different story. They are reporting that a massive, undetectable ghost fleet of viral particles has already slipped through the net. They've gone dark. They've bypassed the primary filters, and right now, they are screaming toward the absolute nerve center, the central nervous headquarters. If you know the layout of the human anatomy, you know exactly what this means. The virus is no longer just hitting the industrial hubs or the outskirts, it is hunting the brain. It is looking for the supreme leader of the body. The entire region is holding its breath as these pathogens slice through the bloodstream undetected. And as the sun begins to rise on this biological battlefield, the chaos is only intensifying. Look at the vascular highways. We are talking about absolute carnage in the capillaries. These silver highways, which should be transporting life-giving nutrients, are becoming a graveyard of cellular debris. The blood flow is becoming sluggish, turning into a massive gridlock traffic jam as the body's own defense mechanisms, the platelets, start a panicked, uncoordinated lockdown. They are closing the bridges, they are blocking the tunnels, but in their rush to contain the spread, they are accidentally choking the very organs they are supposed to protect. The kidneys are starting to flicker. The liver is reporting a massive surge in toxic signatures as it tries to filter a tide of viral waste it was never designed to handle. The air is thick with the chemical sirens of cytokines. This is what we call a cytokine storm, a desperate all-out SOS signal that can be just as devastating as the attack itself. It's a total systemic meltdown. To a panicked immune operator staring at a chaotic chemical screen, the data is overwhelming. Every single sensor is lighting up red. Every alarm is blasting at maximum volume. Is the virus in the blood? Is it in the nerves? At this point, almost everything is an open target. As we speak, reports are flooding in that the red infiltration has reached the gates of the blood-brain barrier. This is the ultimate red line. If those gates fall, the war is effectively over. The entire biological world is watching, waiting to see if the perimeter holds, or if the regime of health collapses instantly. The illusions of safety have been dismantled. The lights are flickering in the most guarded districts of the body. Any sense of normalcy has been replaced by pure, unadulterated shock and awe. But just as the system reaches the breaking point, just as the darkness seems to be winning, a new signal is emerging from the deep bunkers of the bone marrow. The command center isn't dead. It was just waiting. It was calculating. It was preparing a counterstrike, so sophisticated, so mathematically choreographed, that it will change the course of this war in a single second. The era of the virus's undetected reign is about to end, because the silver bullets of the immune system are finally authorized for launch. The counteroffensive is no longer a plan. It is already in the air. But how does the human body actually pull off a preemptive counterstrike when its defenses have already been breached? First of all, you have to look at the microscopic map of the theater. To turn the tide of a war this sophisticated, your immune system doesn't just rely on raw numbers. It deploys a level of military-grade technology that makes our most advanced stealth fighters look like paper planes. This is where we enter the most terrifyingly complicated part of the entire operation, the transition from total systemic chaos to a mathematically choreographed counteroffensive. To make this happen, the body relies on a tactic called biological time on target. And it all begins with Wave 1. The blinding. Think of your antibodies not just as sticky proteins, but as highly specialized electronic warfare units. While the virus is busy trying to link up with your healthy cells, these antibodies launch a massive jamming operation. They don't just hit the virus, they coat it. They saturate the viral surface, effectively painting the enemy targets with molecular interference. This is the biological equivalent of injecting false data directly into an enemy radar screen. By covering the viral spike proteins, the keys the virus uses to unlock your cells, the antibodies essentially jam the locks. The virus is still there, screaming through the bloodstream, but it's effectively blind. It can see the target, it can reach the target, but it can no longer recognize or engage the target. It's a total neutralization of the enemy's primary weapon system before the main battle even begins. But the body doesn't stop at jamming. To actually hunt down these pathogens and flush them out of the deep tissue bunkers, it sets a brilliant tactical trap. This is Wave 2, the decoy operation. In the world of high-stakes military strikes, the US uses miniature air-launched decoys to trick enemy radars into firing at ghosts. Your immune system does the exact same thing. It begins deploying millions of decoy receptors, molecular fragments that look exactly like the high-value targets the virus is hunting, to a panicked viral particle staring at a chaotic chemical screen. These decoys look like the perfect nerve center offices of your central nervous system. The virus commits its payload, wastes its energy, and exposes its position, all while hitting a target that doesn't exist. This maneuver forces the viral swarm into the open, creating safe corridors for the body's heavy hitters to move in. And that brings us to the tip of the spear. Wave 3, the choreography. While the decoys are distracting the enemy and the electronic warfare units are blinding them, the silver bullets of the human machine are already deep inside the hostile airspace of the vascular system. We are talking about the 5th-generation stealth fighters of the biological world, the cytotoxic T cells and the neutrophils. In our metaphor, these are your F-35 Lightnings. They are fast, they are invisible to the virus's detection systems, and they carry a lethal precision payload. But here's the absolute genius of it. These T cells don't just attack at random. They are mathematically coordinated from the primary command centers, the lymph nodes. Orbiting the battlefield are the chemical quarterbacks in the sky, the cytokines and signaling molecules that manage the massive traffic of millions of immune cells. They calculate the exact math. They look at the map of the infection, from the garage-like industrial hubs of the lungs to the ideological heart of the gut. The command center issues the order for a synchronized impact. This is the moment the military planners live for. At the exact same millisecond from completely different locations in the body, the T cells reach their marks. They don't just arrive, they detonate. They release a perfectly timed barrage of perforins and granzymes, biological Tomahawk cruise missiles designed to bypass the viral armor and explode the infected cells from the inside out. It is a total systemic shock. By impacting every viral hotspot at the exact same second, the body collapses the regime of the infection instantly. The virus doesn't have time to adapt, it doesn't have time to replicate, and it certainly doesn't have time to retreat. It is pure shock and awe, choreographed with a precision that exceeds any human military machine. While the stealth fighters are hunting the mobile targets, the body brings in the floating cities, the macrophages. These are the aircraft carriers of your internal navy. Cruising through the Arabian Sea of your lymphatic fluid, these massive tactical platforms move into the wind. They don't just fight, they sustain the pressure. Each macrophage is a bomb truck, heavily laden with digestive enzymes and reactive oxygen species. They scan the ground for any surviving viral launchers hiding in the valleys of your tissue. They connection to the tanker tracks of the bloodstream, taking on thousands of pounds of metabolic fuel in midair before turning back for a second sortie. Their job is total destruction of enemy air defenses. They are the cleanup crew hunting down any remaining pathogen foolish enough to turn its sensors on. Once they are Winchester out of ammo, they don't just go home, they gather intelligence. They strip the enemy of its secrets, taking fragments of the viral code back to the command centers to ensure the body's radar is forever calibrated to this specific threat. This is why the counterattack is so devastating. It's not just about firepower. It's about the integrated air defense system. It's about the way the tomahawk-like enzymes degrade the viral bunkers, effectively carving out safe corridors for the healing process to begin. By the time the sun rises on the biological battlefield, the first wave of the counter-offensive is over. The eyes of the virus have been blinded by the antibody jamming. The heart of its replication program has been crushed by the T-cell stealth strikes, and the limbs of the viral force have been severed by the carrier-class macrophages. Everything impacted at the exact same second, designed to collapse the infection's regime before it could even think about powering up its defenses again. The coalition of your cells operated in a completely different league, injecting false data into the enemy's world and dismantling their network piece by piece. Ultimately, the viral network wasn't just suppressed, it was completely dismantled. The door has been kicked wide open, and the healing forces are now moving in, undetected and unopposed. This is the absolute crown jewel of your biological design. It lit up the night sky of your internal world, proving that even against a devastating preemptive strike, the choreography of life is mathematically unstoppable. The first wave, it didn't hold back, not even a little. The entire regime of the infection has been completely and systematically dismantled. Look at the fallout across the biological theater. The viral eyes, those sophisticated receptors the pathogen used to hunt and target your healthy cells, have been permanently blinded by the antibody electronic warfare. Any illusion of a successful invasion has been shattered. The heart of the enemy operation, the viral DNA core, has been crushed by the stealth strikes of your cytotoxic T-cells. And the limbs, those infectious proteins that kick down the gates of your cell membranes, they've been severed by the relentless pursuit of the macrophage bomb trucks. This wasn't just a random recovery. This was a perfectly synchronized, overwhelming counteroffensive. It is definitive proof that you house the most powerful military machine on the planet right now. An inner army so mathematically choreographed and technically superior that it neutralizes thousands of high-threat targets before you even feel a single symptom. It is a defense system that manages massive traffic, intercepts invisible threats, and rebuilds the battlefield with a precision that human engineers can only dream of. This is the absolute crown jewel of evolution. A silent, invisible, and unstoppable force protecting the nerve center of your life. We decode these high-stakes, underground operations happening inside your veins from scratch every single week. If you want to stay calibrated to the secret wars fighting for your survival and learn how your body manages these complex theaters of war, you need to be part of this command center. So please do subscribe and hit the notification bell for more. Don't let your internal radar go dark. Join the fight.